All right, let's take a look at the aftermath of my Custom Saber Shop Scratch and Dent haul. So I got 2 lots of the Scratch and Dent Saber parts that were available from the Custom Saber Shop, and I opted for the largest batch of components. And this is what I ended up with. So you can see it's a really nice mix of parts, and I assembled some of the parts into some complete hilts to give you a little bit of an idea what that looks like too. But let's start over here. So we can see there's a bunch of blade tips. This came with some of the rounded blade tips and then also a couple parabolic ones. And so they have the reflective end on them. And then here's one of the emitter pieces. So this one was left over. A lot of the pieces I could form into hilts, but you can see there's a few kind of odds and ends that are either kind of attachments for a hilt or they don't quite add up to make a full hilt. So here we have kind of a spare one. Here's a couple switches. These are illuminated switches. There were a couple of CoverTech wheels included, a brass one. So the brass one has a slight defect to it. And there's also this machined metal black CoverTech wheel. I've got a thumb screw here. I think this is plastic on the outside, but it kind of is one of those iconic red thumb screws. This is like part of a heat sink. Oh, this actually reminds me, I gotta grab one more piece. I also had a heat sink included. I left that over there. There's part of that assembly. And then here's bunny ears. So kind of a, sort of like a Graphics type of bunny ears. And it has the holes drilled into it as well. A couple activation boxes, or, you know, kind of guards for switches. This one's a little intriguing. So this is part of a keychain from the Custom Saber Shop. It didn't come with the keyring part, but you could pretty easily add that. And you can see part of the reason why this is probably with the Scratch and Dent is the imperfect finish. So you'll see that with some of the components here, some more than others, that there's a visible imperfection, and it really ranges. Sometimes it's pretty minor, sometimes it's a little more significant, but with lightsabers, you can always chalk up some of that to weathering, right? Or you can further customize some of these components if you wanted to as well. It's just a basic body piece. It has the switch hole drilled into it. There were several pieces from sort of like a thin neck saber, so sort of like a Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi style lightsaber. Now this is the same emitter piece as the other one, but it has this different finish to it, sort of a more muted finish. This body section didn't have anything pre-drilled into it, but you know, that is standard. If you buy components from the Custom Saber Shop, they usually come without pre-drilled pieces, maybe with some exceptions. Yeah, so this one comes that way. Now this hilt, you guys, that I made is pretty wild. It's as you can see, it's a very long hilt. It does have this pre-drilled hole in the top, some fluting down the side. This lower part of the hilt is a bit more distressed, let's say. And one of the reasons why this is so long is there's actually a coupler piece right here, or, you know, a piece that kind of can connect several of these long pieces together. And then finally, so this pommel, this is a really big pommel, but it's also weighted. So this pommel is like a lot heavier, kind of more substantial than a lot of the pommels from the Custom Saber Shop, but that can really affect your balance point, kind of weight the saber more toward the end. So I'll just kind of add that back. Yep, definitely add some weight toward the end. Here's another pretty long hilt. And we have this, I don't know, this reminds me of a power plant, this emitter shape. It's kind of cool, a little bit of a curved emitter there. And here's one of the standard body pieces. I've got this really gorgeous blue piece toward the bottom of this hilt. I couldn't really see any defects with it. And then this is kind of the doorknob style pommel. Now this is a pommel where you can add the cube rings to it if you happen to have those, but it's sort of this two-piece assembly, and you can optionally add cube rings to make it look a little bit more like the prequel or the Obi-Wan Kenobi hilt from the Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. And then here's another intriguing sort of piece that has some color added to it. There's maybe a little bit of imperfection there, but overall still a really beautiful finish to it. It almost makes it look like a wood veneer or something, but I guess it's maybe a bronze coloring, something like that. It's sort of a shiny brown, which I think bronze basically is, right? I do really like this emitter with all these cutouts at the top. They're kind of boomerang cutouts. Beautiful windows. And then here's a notched pommel at the bottom. So yeah, that's basically a look at this haul. So this is a bunch of pieces that I got. I didn't know what I was going to get. So these scratch and dent promotions that some stores are doing occasionally, including the Custom Saber shop, they just, they're a little bit along the lines of those mystery box sabers that some companies do, where you don't know exactly what you're going to get. Now in this case, you are going to get pieces where maybe not everything's complete. As you can see, I could build maybe about 4 hilts with the pieces that I received, which is pretty good. And you just don't know. You can get some random odds and ends pieces, even a keychain, I guess, in this case. And, it's great if you're building your own sabers, or even if you're kind of looking like you're trying to see what you'll end up with, like this beautiful blue piece here. It's a really nice value to be part of the scratch and dent bundle. So sometimes people will get these bundles and they'll keep some of the pieces or use some of the pieces for some sabers and then sell off the rest. There's lots of nice options, lots of creativity there. So what do you guys think about these scratch and dent bundles? What do you think about the haul that I've got here? Have you ever gotten one from a company? Let's talk about it below a little bit, but here it is. And which is your favorite hilt also? It's a little hard to choose. I think all of these have something kind of interesting going on. The weighted pommel is something a bit more unusual, but it's kind of a neat feature. But feel free to comment below.